Hey guys, it's Ashley and it's dinner time. I wanted to do a video just to show you guys just my dinner time routine. Today's Friday, and so I know that Fridays are my days that I make my veggie broths or my chicken stock, just whatever we have been collecting throughout the week. I go ahead and I just throw it in a big pot of water just so I can have, some broth or some stock for the rest of the week. We're actually making tortellini soup tomorrow, so it's perfect. I can use, that broth that I make today for tomorrow. So what we're actually making today is some turkey cutlets rolled and stuffed with some spinach, some gorgonzola, and some apples. We are making food for Daddy and Mommy and Baby, so I am doing things a little bit different for Ava's food than I am for our food, so I'll go ahead and I'll let you guys know what that is. It is the end of our month and our budget month, so what I'm trying to do is to show you guys just some tricks if you hit that mark too, where you've kind of gone over budget in your groceries, or you're hitting that last week of your budget month. Then you can just go through what you have in your kitchen and stockpile, just to kind of get all the things that you have out of the kitchen without having to go to the store and spend very much. So what we've done this week is we've just kind of pulled everything out of our freezer, or some of our canned goods, and I've just been buying fresh vegetables at Fresh and Easy. They actually have an organic section that every few days it goes on sale 50% off if it's past its expiration date. So I'm there pretty much every other day to kind of pick up and just make what they have on sale. So what we're making today with that is some broccolini. I'm just going to saute it with some onions and some garlic, and then I'm actually making some a mushroom pearl barley risotto. We have pearl barley just a little bit left, so I'm going to go ahead and use that all. And then we had some mushrooms that I had dried with the dehydrator, but if you have anything else on hand, that would be great, to make rice or anything like that. So I hope you guys like this video. If so, give me a thumbs up and let's get started. Right off the bat, you want to grab the biggest pot that you have and fill it about halfway or more, depending on how much broth you want to make, with water, and put your heat as high as it will go. And then to that you want to add all of your vegetable trimmings. I like to collect all these vegetable trimmings from throughout the week. Anything I've made, I go ahead and I just throw it in this bag and save it for the end of the week when I make my broths. If I have chicken bones that I've made that week that are left over, I'll throw those in a bag as well and throw those in there. Some chicken skin, anything that's going to give more flavor. So you want to add a little bit of salt to this now, and you're going to taste it later. And then you want to go ahead and add a bay leaf to the broth as well. What I like to use all of this broth that I collect for is anytime that I'm making rice or quinoa or anything that calls for water, I like to substitute that with vegetable broth or chicken broth, just because it adds a little bit more depth of flavor instead of having, water, which is kind of bland. I like to have, the extra kick of flavor. Okay guys, so what I'm doing is I'm grating these 3 apples. These are the apples that have all the bruises on them, and I know nobody's going to be eating them anyway, so I want to use those first. I'm just going to be grating these down to the core, peeling off all of this excess skin that's going to gather. You can use that as well. And I'm just going to be rotating the apple to the core on all sides. And once that's done, I'm just going to grab all of the excess that's on the cheese grater to get all that out too. You want to definitely save all that. And now we just wanted to put a saucepan or a nonstick pan on very high heat, making sure it's on high heat before we throw in our spinach. The spinach is going to be wilted, and in order for that to happen, the pan needs to be dry. And your spinach needs to be semi-dry, just so that when it starts to break down, it doesn't release a lot of water into the pan. You still want to have a little bit of texture to the spinach, so it's not just like a mushy spinach. So I'm just going to be stirring this up a little bit and watching it decrease in size as it starts to wilt. A lot of kids don't like greens, so this is a great way to sneak it into their food. They definitely won't taste it with the apples, which I think is great if there's a lot of picky eaters out there. I know that looking for any way to hide green food is awesome. So I just want to check on my broth, and I'm seeing that it's boiling up and looking good and smelling great. So if you don't want to reduce this too much, you can actually cover it, but I'm going to let it reduce a little bit more. Alright, I'm seeing that my spinach is wilting down, and we're going to get started with our mixture. So once this is all done, I just put it into a glass bowl, and I'm actually going to be mixing two different mixtures. I want to mix a mixture for Ava's food that doesn't have the Gorgonzola cheese in it, and then I'm going to mix some for Dominic and me, which we have to add cheese to, of course, because we love cheese. And so I'm just separating this. I'm going to set this aside while I put the Gorgonzola cheese in it. So Gorgonzola cheese is super high in sodium, like all great cheeses, so you don't need to add too much salt to your mixture after that, because when you get that Gorgonzola bite, it's going to be very, very salty already. Unless you're, heavy-handed on the salt and you guys are used to a lot of salt. I try to make our meals with the lowest amount of sodium as possible, even though Dominic will still throw some salt on top if he thinks it's a little bit too bland for him. So there's going to be, big pieces of Gorgonzola. If you get the crumbles, you just want to break that one up a little bit. So what I've done is I've grabbed my turkey cutlets and just out of the package, and I put them on some plastic wrap. I put the plastic wrap on top, and now I'm just beating them down so that they can all be the same size and even, so that it would be easy for me to roll them, and so that they'll cook evenly too. So you don't want to beat them to a pulp. They're already kind of separating just a little bit, so I'm just kind of going to be gentle and trying to make them the same size. So once you're done with all of them, you're just going to repeat the process with the rest of them, but once you're done with all of them, then you're just going to peel them back, taking off the parchment paper, and then putting them on the pan that you're going to use to put them in the oven. So I'm just putting some olive oil on both sides with some salt and pepper, just to kind of seal in that moisture and that flavor, because turkey is really is known for not having that much fat in it, so it dries out really easily. So now that that's all seasoned up, I want to add my Gorgonzola, apple, and spinach mixture. You just want to put a thin layer before you roll it up. These apples and the moisture from the spinach are definitely going to help keep it moist in these little cutlet rolls. So getting started with the risotto now, I have my onions sauteed in the hot pan, and these are my rehydrated mushrooms, and this is actually the mushroom juice that I had my mushrooms hydrating in. So I just want to make sure that my onions are translucent, and then I'm going to add my pearl barley to toast it. I don't know where this came from. I think it's a Mexican thing, but we like to toast our grains in the onions before we get started. So to that, once that's done, then you want to add your broth or whatever you have. I'm actually going to add the liquid that my mushrooms rehydrated in, and then I'm going to add some of the veggie broth that we're making here. You just want to make the pearl barley according to the instructions as well. And then what I love to add for some flavor is my chicken bouillon. I just like a little pinch, or maybe a little big of a pinch, but it has sodium in there, so you have to be mindful of the salt content in that. But this is an awesome way to get some chicken broth flavor without having to have chicken broth and buying chicken broth. So I went ahead and added my mushrooms. These are the rehydrated chopped up mushrooms back into my risotto. I like to do this now just because you still can drain so much flavor from that. And so now my broth is ready, and I am just going to be pouring them in these half-gallon mason jars. Not all the way, because I've regrettably done that and they've exploded in my freezer. I'm using a sifter to catch all of the excess stuff that's coming out of the broth. And here we are left with some concentrated homemade broth I can have for all week and for the soup I'm going to be making. Now we're going back to our turkey cutlets. You just want to put down some extra virgin olive oil. This is on a medium to low heat because we're actually adding butter and we don't want to burn the butter. So once the butter is melted all down, then you want to add your turkey cutlets, making sure your heat is high enough that there's a reaction once you put down the turkey cutlets. I do want to make sure that my oven is set for me to throw these in once I'm done browning all sides. I want to cook them for about 25 to 35 minutes, or until they hit about 165 internal temperature. I decided to deglaze all of the little turkey bits that were at the bottom of this pan with just a little bit of broth, and I went ahead and added some garlic and some pepper so I can saute my broccolini in this sauce instead of having to add olive oil and all that stuff. I wanted to savor all this flavor at the bottom of the pan. Oh man, this looks good. I can't wait to dive in. What we're actually going to do now is we're going to cut up Ava's turkey cutlet. This is the one that doesn't have the Gorgonzola inside, so you just wanted to chop that up as super fine, or however, texture that your baby is used to. And now she's going to try it for the first time. We'll see if she likes it. She likes it. Alright guys,